Good morning, everyone. As we begin a new week of Psalm of the Day, we're looking at Psalm 56. I'm reminded of my visit last year to Mark Twain's house in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a prolific writer. When he died in 1910, aged 74, he left behind 5,000 edited pages of memoirs. They stacked 10 feet tall, 500,000 words in all. I also learned that he experienced great sadness. As a boy, his brother was killed before his eyes on a steamboat explosion, and 3 of his 4 children never lived to adulthood. He was scammed by an inventor and faced near bankruptcy. But one of his famous quotes is about fear. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. And this brings us to David in Psalm 56, who had more than his fair share of troubles. Here he's facing the fear of the Philistines, but he reveals how he deals with that fear. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. In God I trust and am not afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? So David doesn't mask his fear through denials, but he masters his fear through trust in God. It sounds quite simple, but how did David do it? How do we do it when we are faced by fears of many kinds? Well, David refers to 2 books. Firstly, there's the book of God's Word, the record of his promises. In God, whose word I praise, in God I trust. David may have had access to God's written word, where he could learn about the Lord, who keeps his promises. And he must also have recalled the Lord's promises to him, that he would be king of Israel instead of Saul. He overcame fear by praising God for his word and holding on to those promises. And it must be the same for us. Hebrews 13 applies 2 Old Testament promises to New Testament believers in Jesus. God has said, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." So we say with confidence, "The Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me?" Trusting God's word, then, in the face of fear, can give us confidence. But secondly, there's the book of David's tears, the record of his difficulties. List my tears on your scroll. Are they not in your record? Then my enemies will turn back when I call for help. Despite his fears, David is convinced that the Lord is sympathetic, he's compassionate, abounding in love and mercy, keeping a record of David's tears. What a wonderfully tender picture for such a merciful God. How much more clearly we see this in the New Testament, where Jesus, the Son of God, who knew what it was to shed tears, becomes our high priest, and therefore is not unable to feel sympathy for our weaknesses. For we have one who's been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin. And we can take our tears and our fears to God through him. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. So today, as we face up to our fears from whatever source, let's show the right kind of courage by putting our faith in our God. Amen.